Welcome to Tommy Solo's Famous Friends. This is where I get to chat with people who I've connected with over the years in the world of arts and entertainment, and today I'm quite happy to have with me American-born Canadian actor and writer / stand-up comic, Bernard Robichaud. Welcome to the show, Bernard.
Thanks for having me, Tommy.
It is absolutely my pleasure. Now, I think most people who are aware of who you are would recognize you from the Trailer Park Boys, and you've had quite the recurring role there over the years, starting from episode 1. But there is a lot more to you than just the Trailer Park Boys. From what I understand, your career started out as a model. So how did you go from being a model and into acting?
Did a set of fashion shows for Craven A. To have the top designers in Canada. I did that and went to Toronto because of it and met an agent there. And I spent an hour conversation with her, and she told me I was missing my calling and thought I should be an actor, not a model, and that she had already hired somebody who showed me the picture, looked kind of like could have been my brother. And so she couldn't hire me because of that. Went back home, and just really from just the way my life was going at the time, a friend of mine said that I needed to find another outlet to express myself other than getting in fights on the weekend.
Typical small town boy behavior.
And I took him seriously because he was a good friend of mine, and I auditioned for theater school at Dalhousie University and got accepted, and the rest is history now.
Cool. Now, from what I understand, your list of credits started in 1993, and you were in a TV movie called Life with Billy, and you played a store clerk. So, was that all it took to get your SAG or ACTRA membership?
No, that wasn't the first thing I did. I did a radio play. I think it was my first professional gig. I did a radio drama called In Becky's Name, and I played the voice of a schizophrenic male. So he was Robert and Becky. So I played a man and woman voice on radio. And the producer and writer thought that anybody that first time walked off the street could play in a man and woman voice, especially with my voice, should be a professional. And they wrote to ACTRA on my behalf and pretty much explained the same thing to ACTRA. And a week later, I was given my union affiliation, which kind of unheard of at the time, because at the time you were supposed to do, I think, 5 professional paying gigs in a year before you could become a professional. And that was almost unheard of back home, in the Maritimes, getting that amount of work. So it was very difficult at the time.
Well, that's really cool. And kudos to you that's got to take a lot of talent to play a man and a woman in the same production to begin with. So I don't know, how did you work out the female voice?
Yeah, just talked in a really high pitched kind of try to impersonate Michael Jackson at the time, I guess, and just talked in a high pitched voice and try to do it effeminately, and it worked. It worked with what they had. In those sound booths, there's so much to be able to work with. To create the tone in sound rooms, there's an awful lot that they can do to adjust it, and that's how they did it. But, obviously you have to give them something to work with in order to do that. So I was a great producer, a great sound man as well. It wasn't just me.
Right. Kind of reminds me of one of the more recent characters that they added on Trailer Park Boys. Was it Donnie? And he also played his sister Donna. So I wonder if that was inspired by your character in Robert and Becky.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't say.
So I noticed there's a lot of common threads between you and, for example, John Dunsworth. You've been in a lot of the same productions over the years, so I just kind of wondered if it was kind of a circle, and ideas get spread around and recycled and so on. But
John was my acting coach at university while I was there. We go back quite a ways, or had gone back quite a ways, so I'm not sure that would have had anything to do with it, although he was He was actually one of the characters in that radio drama as well, in Becky's Name. So, who knows? It's quite possible that he may have brought that up to the boys when they were writing, or Plattenberg. Who knows? Yeah, I wouldn't have been a part of that anyway, so can't really confirm that.
Okay. Editor's note, I felt it would be remiss of me to not mention that John Dunsworth, who was most notably known for his role as the iconic Trailer Park supervisor Jim Leahy on the Trailer Park Boys, passed away in 2017. May he rest in peace. Now back to the show. Now, you've done a lot before and after the Trailer Park Boys. Like I said, your internet movie database is really stacked. I understand you had a recurring role as Kirk in the TV series Haven that was on the Sci-Fi Network for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. That was a fun role to play as well. Yeah, a bit different Cyrus from Trailer Park Boys, but yeah, that was a great series. Producer as well as cast. It was fun to work with for sure.
Right.
Sean Spiller was the producer, and yeah, he was a good man to work for.
Right. And you've got quite a few irons in the fire right now. I know that when I first reached out to you, you were pretty busy, even though you'd been home for a little bit. I understand that there are a couple of projects in pre-production currently.
There is. Yeah, I'm not sure where they're going. One I can't talk about. The other one shot the pilot already. It's called The New. It's apocalyptic sci-fi series. There's some interest from some producers in Australia. So it happened. I guess I'd be shooting there.
Cool. That sounds like an adventure.
It could be. I've never been to Australia, so we'll see. But I generally don't put a whole lot of faith in that stuff until so much can happen that I just tend not to talk about too much of stuff that's in pre-production until the ink's dry.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I remember when I was just a young man, I was offered a spot on a tour with 3 high-profile bands as an opening act, and so I went around and told all my friends, and then I didn't get the gig. Yeah, so
I often found that was the same thing that happened to me, and I learned that in a very short form. That when you talk about those things before they actually happen, it's almost like it jinxes you. So I learned a long time ago just to put good vibes out there in the world and not talk about those things that are close to your heart and hope that they come to fruition. It's about all you can do. So many variables out there in the industry that can sink your boat in a pretty big
Yeah.
It doesn't look good when that happens, and everybody's saying, well, why?
Yeah, and then I know there's a lot of times where you'll be in a scene or a couple of scenes in a show or a movie, whatever, and it ends up on the cutting floor. So even though you've done the work, you're not in the production.
Yeah, that's right. I learned a long time. My first gig ever was a series called Night Heat, and I learned very quickly that that's just not to watch yourself and think about all the things that you shot, because some of it, or how they shoot it and how they edit it, may not necessarily be the way you had envisioned in your head. So after that show, I stopped watching myself. I don't watch myself on TV or film or anything anymore.
Okay. Yeah, no, I wonder, once you're in ACTRA, let's say you do get recorded in a couple of scenes and they cut it, do you still get paid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you still get paid. You still, and regardless, you still get the credit. So they still have to pay your residual as well, regardless of what they decide to do with it. That would be part of your contract prior to. Yeah,
well, that's a
they
difference.
hire you for a reason, and whether they use you or not is entirely up to them. And they're part of their thing is to uphold their end of the contract. And so like I said, pointless to watch. I don't feel the need to watch it. Like I said, they hired me for a reason. I think they thought that I could do the job. And when they say, check the gate, moving on, so do I. I'm good. Right. When they say it's a wrap, I'm wrapped. I go home. I think for me, it's more rewarding to have the people that are watching this show let me know what it was like and whether or not they liked it. Man, for me, that's the best part of it. I don't need to watch myself to know whether or not I did a a good job or not. Like I said, they've got what they wanted in my opinion. So
That's an interesting perspective because as a musician myself, I often watch videos and I try to be self-critical, but I find that sometimes it can be a little bit crippling, or it can cause insecurities that maybe I shouldn't have to begin with. So,
yeah, no doubt about that. I think as an artist, we tend to be overly critical of ourselves. Anyway, that's why we're become artists. We're a little bit perfectionists, right? So, and I think that as an artist, you've gotten to where you are because of your talent, and you should embrace that and forget about the rest. There's enough people out there criticizing you from time to time without you having to do that yourself.
absolutely, yeah, and I know there are a lot of artists out there who, particularly musicians, who insist on doing nothing but music, end up being not successful because they haven't had the opportunities or haven't knocked on the right doors or whatever. But yeah, a lot of artists out there have been successful in just the chosen field of acting, and I'm assuming that you're one of those based on the fact that you are living in California these days. So that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't been successful in getting an agent here, but then again, there's a lot of people in California that, I'm sure there's a ton of people with decent body of work, and maybe agents don't feel the need to. So I honestly, I keep my agents in Toronto, and they represent me globally, and I'm happy with that. I haven't fallen off the radar. I think, people that know me or know my body of work appreciate that, and so I still get my auditions through them. A lot of stuff is done by MPEG now, and certainly because of the way whole COVID changed the way a lot of auditions are being held now. So, I don't have to go in the casting room and or run around like a chicken with my head cut off, hoping that I'm going to get an audition at any point. Now, I'm at that point in my career where I'm happy when those things come my way. I just let the universe unfold on its own, and it comes my way. It comes my way. But to kind of force it, or to think that you're gonna do something that's gonna make some kind of change by hanging out in places where you might run into some, I'm done doing that.
That's a good attitude.
Happy. Yeah, I just think I'm just quite happy at this point in my career. I think that, like you said, the body of work speaks for itself, and it's good to trust the team that you have and that have been there for you all along. So to find somebody, even in LA or San Francisco, to be honest with you, would probably want to represent me globally, which means I'd have to get rid of my other agent, and I don't want to do that. I'm quite happy with what Linda Butler and Butler Rushton Bell do for me, and they've always been there for me. And a little bit old school there, Tommy. If you got my back, I'm going to have yours. And so they tell me that they can't represent me anymore for whatever reason that might be, which I don't foresee. And I would be there for them too. Kind of loyal in those regards. So
I think good relationships are to be nurtured, and it's not every day that you can find people that you can work with that you have absolute implicit trust with, and vice versa. So absolutely, I agree. I mean, hang on to these people while they're doing you right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a small world these days anyway when it comes to the entertainment industry and, all that. So everybody's getting the same casting breakdown through Actors Access or Breakdown Express or one of those. Every agent, every casting director seeing the same things. Doesn't matter where it's being shot. So why bother? Why rock the boat? Why put yourself through that headache of, pounding the streets and sending out pictures and resumes and trying to get somebody to represent you? And it doesn't, to me, it just, I've got somebody and they represent me. I'm good.
And it's interesting, too, to think about how COVID has kind of changed things, because personally, I always have in the past preferred to have face-to-face meetings and interactions with people. I don't really like texting with people. I'd rather talk to somebody on the phone or talk to them face-to-face. But these days, you just can't take any extra chances with anything. So it's kind of nice to see that the industry has kind of changed to the point where you can do auditions over a Zoom call or whatever. So that's gotta be a lot less stressful, like you say. Now, I understand you're working on a few things right now. Writing a made-for-TV series called Cranky Cab.
Yeah, it's been up and down with that. I'm not sure where that's going to end up. Maybe nowhere at this point. I mean, it's been one of those things that's gotten a little fire under its belly and then seems to fizzle out. A little bit more fire under it. Yeah, so it's been up and down for a couple of years now, so we'll see.
Okay. Well, we'll certainly be looking forward to anything new that you're involved with. And speaking of things that are kind of different, I understand that you have done some touring as a stand-up comic.
Yeah, I did that for about 6 years as my character in Cyrus. I haven't done that in a while. My head goes off to all those comics that do that. I had about an hour or so that was written for me with myself and a couple other friends of mine who were stand-ups, and I was touring as Cyrus like some of the other boys were while they were out on tour. A very difficult job to, from town to town, night after night after night. And some nights everybody gets the joke, and the other nights people are all looking at you with this puppy dog look on their face. So it really depended on whether or not people watched the show or they didn't watch the show. And, it really all started because people wanted to have me do appearances. And then, suddenly they wanted me to do appearances, but they wanted to have a little show like the other boys were performing. And it went from like 15, 20 minutes of doing something to, I don't know, some of the last shows I did were last an hour 15, just really depended on laughter. But yeah, it's a tough gig. I'm not really big on living out of a suitcase, especially at my age now. I'd rather not. So it's a tough road.
Sure is. As a former full-time musician, I hear you there. I mean, we drove one time from Brampton, Ontario. We played at a bar in Brampton, did 6 nights there, and then we had to get to Thunder Bay in time for set up for Sunday afternoon. And I mean, the road ain't easy for anybody, and living out of a suitcase, it's okay when you're 21, 23, whatever, and all that stuff, but I'm a little bit older than you by a few months, and I don't even play in bars anymore. I mean, who wants to wrap up at 2 a.m. and then hopefully get home by 4 or 5, if you can avoid it.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody right now at our age, buddy.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so what do you have in the works these days?
Right now, majority of the work I do is at Pebble Beach. I'm a professional golf caddy, so with the stuff that's coming up, hopefully I'll hear something from my agents in the next couple of weeks for this new mini-series that's kind of going on right now. It's not going on, but I'm hoping that it'll start production in the next couple of months, and that will bring me down to Toronto for God knows how long. And then, but the rest of the time, I was quite an avid golfer for a while, so now I'm a professional golf caddy at Pebble Beach and Cypress Point, which is the #1 golf course in the world. Like Pebble Beach is where the AT&T is. So I manage golf games. I love it. Really, it puts me out on the golf course just about any day I want to be. And there's nothing like walking those courses. They're pretty spectacular, to be honest. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Aside from that, do a whack of cameos as Cyrus, wishing people happy birthdays or whatever else they want me to do a video on it.
Really?
Yeah, it's been quite a ride over the last couple of years or so. It's kind of been a little humbling. I get them. They come. I mean, honestly, they're all over the world. People that want that, and I kind of never really imagined that being the case. But yeah, that's the way it's turned out.
I didn't want to spend too much time talking about the Trailer Park Boys because, like I say, I know that you've done a lot of other things, but there aren't too many shows, not too many series that end and then come back years later like that one did. That kind of blew me away, and I was pleasantly surprised as a fan.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride for us as well. I mean, I know it's still on Netflix or something. I haven't watched the show either, but I do know that it's amazing to me. The popularity still seems to grow. When I first came out to California, I didn't think anybody would recognize me with a hat on and a baseball hat and a bib and getting ready to go out on the golf course. But that wasn't the case.
You
There
know,
was an awful lot of caddies and surfer dudes that were big fans of the show. I think my first day, about 6 guys came up to me. So it was, it's been interesting. I mean, I wouldn't have to live in LA and San Francisco to get work because, all the producers and actors are playing those golf courses. I get a better chance of getting a job or running an agent or somebody on those golf courses than I would if I was living in one of those big cities.
well, there were an awful lot of deals over the years in all areas of business that have been signed on the golf course. You know what would be really, really funny? And I don't know if you have any access or rights to, but if you had a golf cart that when you started the engine, it went boom, dum, 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 dum,
Yeah. I don't think Pebble Beach is going to go for that one.
And and you couldn't use the catchphrase as you were.
Yeah, and I'm sure it would be pretty hilarious for a lot of them. But I don't see the Pebble Beach company going for that one anytime soon.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't want to take up your whole day here. I'm so glad that we found the time to do this, Bernard. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. And until next time, cheers.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Well, who knew that the guy who played Cyrus on the Trailer Park Boys was such a gentleman in real life? I'm not really that surprised. And, there is an awful lot more to Bernard than just the Trailer Park Boys. If you look up his Internet Movie Database, he has a stacked resume for sure. Now, Bernard is not a musician, so here for your listening pleasure is my licensed cover of Drop Your Guns. Enjoy.
Something is amiss. Love is all you need, love is all. Love we are saying. Let's give peace a chance.
Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a one-man production, meaning that I've done all the work, including guest acquisition, recording, editing, and so on. And hey, if you like the show, why not subscribe and help support us through Patreon at patreon.com/TommySolo. The theme song for Tommy Solo's Famous Friends is a clip from my original composition, The Burn. All rights reserved. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for listening, and until next time, cheers.